vacations, we do the research for you and we make your whole experience stress-free. Bottom line is, we are here to advocate for you. We want to make sure you're satisfied before, during, and after travel. We provide personal travel insights and recommendations from our own experiences, and we are committed to your trip. So we'll be here to make sure everything goes smoothly because we don't want to just book a trip for you. We want to be your personal travel advisors for life. So, anyway, enough about us. Let me move on to what you're all here for this evening. I would like to introduce you, first of all, to my good friend Jennifer Hefner. Jennifer Hefner is a corporate photographer and owner of East 27 Creative and Jennifer Hefner Photography. Studio is located in East Hampton, New York, and Washington, D.C. East 27 Creative helps clients bring their brands to life through photography, videography, visual marketing, and brand consulting. Jennifer's photography spans diverse subject matter and is all about storytelling. Her background in photojournalism underpins her passion for capturing the visual narratives of business, travel, and the world around us. Jennifer started taking pictures at age 5 when her neighbor gave her a garage sale camera. Over the years, she's worked for a variety of newspapers, magazines, and as a photographer and photo editor for the White House Photo Office. Her work on the restoration of the Nevelson sculpture City on High Mountain is exhibited at the J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles, and a selection of her photography appears in exhibits throughout the Hamptons and in commercial and private collections across the U.S. She travels locally and worldwide, working with a variety of small growth industry and global corporate and portraiture clients. She loves to teach and is always excited to share her knowledge with others. So without further ado, Jen, thank you so much for being here this evening, and the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick so you guys can see this. And it's wonderful to be here tonight. Thank you guys so much for asking me. I'm really excited to do this. Let me see where we're at. Okay. Let me see. Let me move you guys over. Present. Okay. We are going to talk about the basics of travel photography. This is a beginner's guide, so feel free to put any questions. Michael, you and Jim, y'all can feel free to stop me during this if anybody has any quick questions. And Michael or Jim, would you let me know when I'm getting kind of at the mark to wrap it up? Okay, great. Okay, let me get going here. Hold on. Okay, so first I wanted to give you a little shot of inspiration. Photography is the story I fail to put into words. So I often find when I am traveling and doing traveling photography and other photography that what I end up doing instead of capturing a lot of things in words is I'm capturing them in photography. And it's something that anyone can do, everybody can do. And I always tell people, everybody always asks me, what's the best camera to take traveling? What do you feel most comfortable with? And that answer can be anywhere from like your big camera to your iPhone. But I always tell people the best camera that you have is the one that's in your hand. So whatever you have at the moment is the best camera to have. And a lot of pictures you'll see on here have been taken with my iPhone. So what is travel photography? And here's like just a tiny brief history. Travel photography is the genre of photography that may involve the documentation of an area's landscape, people, cultures, customs, history, and of course, yourself. There are 8 types of travel photography that I would love to see you try. So the first one is aerial photography, whether it be in a hot air balloon, a helicopter, an airplane, and sometimes those first travel photos you take are out of the window seat of your plane. They offer you amazing views to photograph from above. And we're traveling, try to choose a tour package that will provide you a sightseeing opportunity from above. That will let you capture some really amazing views through your lens. One of the best pictures I ever got was a photo in Barcelona, Spain, and I climbed to the very top of the highest point in the city and climbed to a church steeple and got this amazing photo. So just look for those high vantage points. Your second thing is your street photography. Traveling and street photography go hand in hand, and it offers you this wonderful pleasure of wandering a foreign street, and the camera lets you capture many of the unseen meaningful stories on the street. A lot of times when I do street photography, that is when I'm using my iPhone, and I really, really want to get a feel of the city that I'm in and what they're doing. Um, but you want to make sure that you're always being respectful and inconspicuous when you're traveling to a culture just different from yours. So, you really want to make sure you're not pulling out a lot of your expensive photography equipment when you're in the middle of a crowd. So it's just something to be aware of. Okay, let's go forward. Landscape photography is the best type of photography for the ones having an exploring soul. I love landscape photography. And I'll be honest with you, I do landscape photography everywhere. That includes my own backyard. And often, right now, when a lot of us are not feeling comfortable with traveling yet, that is the best place to go and practice is in your own backyard. And I find that landscape photographers, we really find a joy visiting lonely places in the planet, not to just look at nature, but also to kind of reflect on ourselves. And often when I'm at these places, I am by myself and I'm quiet and I'm just enjoying the moment. It offers an ample opportunity to practice landscape photography from an amateur level to a professional. Now, I know some of you probably would love to go on a safari or go to the Galapagos where you can get some incredible wildlife photography. And that is also a great type of travel photography and one that lets you document wildlife in their natural habitat. It can be challenging and you need to consider several things besides your passport when you're doing it. But the most important thing is going to require some patience, and it's going to require an ample time to do that sort of safari tour, do that Galapagos tour. So make sure when you're working with your travel director that you're picking a package that gives you plenty of time to do that type of photography. And I always say to keep your distance with wild animals. So that is the kind of thing that you want to definitely bring your digital SLR and a longer lens. And that's something that we could talk further on in a more in-depth class. So those are the top four. Those are four. Here's another four. I love photographing food when I travel. I love photographing what I'm eating. I love photographing the markets. I love photographing the people making the food. To me, there is no other way of photographing culture in different places around the world than food. And some of the most favorite photos I have taken have been of food. So one of the most favorite photos I've ever taken was in London in one of their food markets. And it just was vibrant and the color of the food was incredible and the scene was incredible. And that's something really look at. And plus I love going back and seeing what I've eaten too, when I go through my big list of photography. So one of the things that you really want to be aware of when you're doing travel photography is the culture. And this photo down here that I took in Ireland was one of those moments of it was so Ireland. I could not believe that it was happening in front of me. But it is like one of these moments of culture there that you do not find in the US or many other places. And it was a way of documenting this in a very different way and through a narrative that gives you just a really wonderful look back at your travel photography. Let me go on. I also love architectural photography. It really disposes you, it really like gives you all these interesting things and interesting lines. And like this is taken out of our hotel room in New York on the Lower East Side, which is going through this huge change right now. And I really find that I will look for that architecture. It gives a different sense of beauty to your vacation photos. It's a way of studying the light and the color and seeing the modern architecture versus the ancient architecture. I always pay attention to how shadows play with the forms and play with the shape of the architecture, but also in the textures too. When you go to Italy, you have such incredible ancient textures on the walls. So that's something to really be aware of. And finally, I love portrait photography, but I'll be honest with you, everybody is so selfie crazed right now that sometimes we forget that the best pictures are not necessarily a selfie. So it's easy now to get all sorts of type of little tripods for your camera or your iPhone and put the camera a little bit away for you and get something that captures yourself or somebody and the surroundings around you. It's not just about taking the selfie or the family portrait in front of the monument, but it's a capturing the essence of those people and places in and around you. And I always tell people to get out there when you're taking these portraits, find something that is really interesting. And the only way to do that is to really get in the rhythm of the life of a place and figure out what to shoot, is to experience it. And I find that especially when I'm in places hot, the early morning is not only the most active, but the best light. Your best light is early in the morning, late in the afternoon. Midday, there's always a lull, especially in some areas that have a siesta. When I went to Spain, like from 2 to 4 o'clock, everybody was taking a nap. So get up early, stay out late, and capture people in more candids rather than stiff portraits. Okay, so we're going to talk about photography versus taking pictures. What makes a good photo? And I'm just going to go over a couple of my 4 favorite techniques in terms of composition. One of them is framing, and framing your subject using elements around to frame your subject, such as trees, windows, arches, and other features. It can be really effective in making your travel photography something really different and unique. And if you add more elements to the image, it'll draw your viewers into the final subject. It's always also a good way of removing skies when they're not that interesting. And I originally had this above, so. Reflection. I love reflections. I love it as a way to really capture an area. And to me, it really can make travel photography a lot more interesting. But it's also important to note that when you're doing a reflection shot, if it's windy or raining or there's boats and other objects, it's going to be hard to get that reflection. You can, but you're not going to get it like when you get the stillness of something. So adding elements into that image will draw your viewers into the final subject like I did here. Another thing I love to use is lines. I love lines in all sorts of ways, lines of buildings, lines from this farm here. It is one of the most powerful composition techniques for taking off some photos. It uses these elements to lead viewers right to the main subject. And like I talked about, it could be a fence, a path, a road, an architectural element. You sometimes need to crouch low to the ground when you're getting these kind of photographs, so it draws more attention to where the eye should start. Or you can do kind of a higher viewpoint to frame your subjects. It just adds more elements to your image to draw your viewers to the final subject. And finally, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is one of the biggest and famous rules for composition photography, and it's to use a rule of thirds. So if you see this photograph here, if you imagine it in 3 parts and you have a third, a third, a third, and you see the person in it, which is one of our founders, and it's in that final third, it kind of gets the picture to where you're not shooting center, you're shooting off center. And whatever you find most interesting, you are shooting that in either the 1/3 to the left or the 1/3 to the right. And it makes it far more interesting than just shooting it straight on. How am I doing on time? Okay.
You got like 5 minutes. Easy. You got 5 minutes left.
Oh, perfect. So let's talk about the traits of a great photographer. A great photographer is creative. They get in there. A lot of times when I take pictures, I'm lying on the ground, I'm climbing something, I'm looking for a different angle, I'm, getting in close, getting far away. Sometimes I'm just observant. Sometimes I don't have my camera to my eye, I'm just looking around to see what might be interested. And another thing is I'm really patient when you do photography. sometimes there's a term that we used to use in journalism called spray and pray. And basically it'd be people that would like just take their their camera, and they'd be like click, 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 and just, we joke it was like they're looking for the Hail Mary photo. That's great, and sometimes that works out, but it's much better to wait and almost let the photograph come to you. And while you're doing that, you can move around a little bit, make subtle changes, but you really are waiting for it to come to you. So this picture, I am waiting for the bee to get right in the certain point that I want him to be, and then snap it. So how can you improve more as a photographer? You want to keep practicing. I tell people this: no one sits down and plays a Beethoven concerto without practicing. Photography is the same way. The best thing you can do is, if you know you're going on vacation in 3 months, 6 months, a year, is pull out your camera, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's a digital SLR, whether it's mirrorless, and practice, practice, practice. And take a class if you can. There's a lot of things on the internet. There's a lot of things on different websites, but get out there. The best thing you do is just put it in your hand and just take pictures. And especially now with digital, you can take endless amounts of pictures. So I always tell people about photography, especially travel photography, to get lost, wander down the alley, sit in the cafe, watch life pass by. Don't eat where the tourists do. Don't go, you want to find something really cultural and diverse, but go where the locals are. Set off down a street and see where it leads. Look around the bends, over the rises, get away from the crowd. And that's how you get incredible photos. So if you are interested in learning more about travel photography, we have all sorts of ways to help people. We have classes we can offer. We can do one-on-one. Now we can do one-on-one Zoom, and helping you learn more about technique, composition, exposure, all the wonderful things that make up photography. And this is our team. We've got myself, John, and Christina that make up our East 27 creative team. And we all have different ways of teaching storytelling and telling you about storytelling. And finally, this is how to contact us. Those are our two websites, east27creative.com and my personal site, jenniferhefter.com, my email address, and my phone number. And it was a really pleasure talking to you. I'll tell you about this final picture here. This is taken in Montauk, on the very end of Montauk Point. John and I were out there on just a walk. I did not have anything but an iPhone with me. And there were two guys that were trying to use this old camera to take pictures. And I literally took 2 frames of this, and I get more compliments over this photo than many of the other ones I've ever taken. So sometimes it's just about being observant and being there. So thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you guys.
Hey, Jen, so I do have a question. What kind of camera is that? And what's the age of it?
That camera, oh my gosh, I don't even know. That's probably about 100 years old. It was using metal plates.
Ooh.
I'll have to look it up and see.
Yeah, and it looks like it's in pretty good shape, like it's a reproduction.
Oh yeah. It was in great shape. Here, I'll stop the share real quick so you guys can go back. But
thank you, Jen. That was awesome. And now I'm all inspired. I want to go downstairs and dig. I'm so lazy when I travel. I'm always just have my phone with me. And now I want to go get out my my real camera and take that.
Yeah, it does inspire you to like really get out there and to do different types of photography. I think that's the most important thing, is to really stretch yourself creatively on your vacation. So you won't regret it. To me, coming back with the photographs and I look back at like some of my grandparents' slides from 80 years ago, and they're still amazing. It's still, and you get a sense of, even though they're not here to tell those stories anymore, of what those stories are. And to me, that is the most important element of any type of photography, is what story are you trying to tell?
That is awesome. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will, for everyone on here, I'm going to put Jennifer's contact information up again one more time toward the end of this presentation.
Oh, I see someone did have a question. They asked if I took all the photos in the slides. I took almost all the photos. There's a couple of photos that were not mine, that were other people's. But yeah, I took the majority of those in the slides, yes.
And if anybody else has any other questions, here's Jennifer's contact info. If you want to take a quick screenshot of that. If not, email Jim or myself or your cruise planner's travel agent, and we will get Jen's contact info to you. But I am going to turn it over to our good friend and fellow cruise planners agent, Jim Donovan. Jim, take it away.
So I don't have quite the introduction nor quite the resume of Jen, but
you didn't send me your bio, man. I would have read
it. No, I would be embarrassed to do that. So I just go by girl dad. How's that? Because my daughter's always asking me, "Hey, Dad, what's it like being a girl dad?" And having had a son for a long time before I had my daughter, it's a lot different, as you guys probably know. Jen, you made a statement there toward the end about photos kind of telling a story of yesterday that can't be told today. And my wife and I were looking through some old VCR tapes. Yes, I said VCR tapes.
Oh my gosh.
That we had in a crate. And I knew that I had this interview somewhere, but it was from 1987, and it's an interview with my grandfather, who was born in 1897. So it was an interview that was done by one of my brothers, and it was just amazing about how the perspective that he had on things. And then even 30 years ago, to listen to his perspective as of that time. So I have a saying that is, nothing ages better than a photo of today. And I just believe that wholeheartedly. And I'm a big fan of photo books. So whenever we go on a trip now, which is at least once a year, I take my camera with me and my iPhone, and whatever I come back with, we put together a photo book. So I've got this big stack of these things that my daughter, who's now 20, and we started doing these trips when she was 7 or 8, she just loves grabbing these books and looking back through them and saying, "Hey, Dad, do you remember when?" And we'll laugh about the lion hair. I caught her between 2 cruise ships, and this big gust of wind comes up, and she's got the lion hair, and just things like that. So I really, really lean on these to keep the memories alive that we get while we're out traveling. I'm an older guy, and I can't remember the vacations that my mom and dad took us on when I was a young kid. And I made a kind of a commitment that I wouldn't have my kids in that position. So, I always try to do these books and calendars and things like that. But when you're out doing this travel photography and you've got your family with you, you capture these once in a lifetime moments that you can come back and live again and again and again all through your life. It's just really kind of the reason we travel, right? I mean, we don't just go to go, we go to create the memories and the moments and to create those remembrances that we can relive time and time again as we go through our lives with our families. You start looking at photo books, and there's lots of formats and lots of sizes, and I've done a little bit of all of them. And I'll tell you that there's a couple of little hacks that I use. One is about 4 or 5 times a year, Shutterfly puts in an unlimited pages promotion to give you up to 118 pages in a book. So I can take a book and I can make one this thick for the same price. I can make one for this thick. So I get a whole lot more value, and I'm able to take a lot more photos and put them into the book, which allows us to have many more memories that we can look back on and have fun with. Also, if you're a Shutterfly, and I'm not really actually selling Shutterfly tonight, but they've got a couple really good little products. If you've got their app, about once a month, they give you a free 6x6 book. So that's about a little bit smaller than the book over there on the left-hand side with the guys in the striped pants. we were up at State College, Pennsylvania for an Alabama Penn State football game several years ago, and these were the Lion guys that came by in their striped pants that I thought was pretty cute. Just about every provider of these books has standard layouts that they've got available. So like the one you see on the left has got that sun, sand, and sea kind of title to it, and on the back cover, it's kind of set up for 3 horizontal photos. Yeah, I use a combination of kind of the standard layouts that they got, and then also kind of create my own, depending on kind of what the photo opportunity is and what the size of the book is that I've got, how much room I've got to use. And then we also do calendars. And this one just came in yesterday, which is just really timely. But it's a lot like a book, only you can hang it up on the wall, and once a month you can have another picture of something, someplace that you've been to hang up in your kitchen or wherever it might be, and be able to remember back to a particular time that you were in a certain place. It brings me to the thought that when I opened up that book, the guy in that photo is no longer with us, and he happens to be my wife's brother. And that's another reason that I really like family photography. And in this video that I was telling you about a minute ago, this VCR tape, there were a dozen people in there from our wedding 25 years ago that just aren't here anymore. And boy, to see them having a ball and having fun and dancing and stuff, man, that's just really heartwarming. And it's kind of thing that you bring your family together about. And we were just really excited about that. And then there's things like wall art and canvas. So these things behind me are just canvas prints that I had made by either Canvas on Demand or Canvas Direct, one of those companies. And these are 16 by 20 photos. And to Jen's point, these, I know that the landscapes that are shot here, the beach photos, were shot with a cell phone back a few years back. I'm not sure about the photo with my girls, as I call them, my wife and my daughter, but I know that the other ones are. And with the sensors that are in the cell phones today and the editing capabilities that you've got in an iPhone or a Samsung, man, I mean, you can make some fantastic images that really can turn into a great piece of wall art. So a couple of things about going to canvas and wall art type products. One is that you want to make sure that you get the right kind of size for the space that you've got, but then also the thickness of them. I've got one of them down here by my side. So this is about 1.5 inches in thickness. And then I've got some others that I did that are about half that. So they're 3/4 of an inch thick. And let me tell you, there's a ton of difference in how they look on the wall. Because when you've got about 1.5 inches, you've got some depth to them, some thickness, some shadow that it casts. And it just really makes a very nice presentation on the wall when you've got that depth. Some of them are open back, some of them are full gallery wraps where the sides will be wrapped with the same image and the back will be sealed, and that keeps dust out of it and helps protect it for a little bit longer. And as I said, this is no DSLR required. This is shot with a cell phone, and this was before the iPhone 12, I'll tell you that. So it's been a few years since I did this. So what I wanted to try to do with you, if I can get my deck to go, oh, please. Seems I have decided to get stuck right now. Stop sharing that for a sec. We'll go over here to something else. And we'll take a look at, let's see where to go here, right here. So one other thing that is available is something called share sites. And I own several share sites that I use for different purposes. And these are websites with web addresses where you can take your photos, load them up. Let's see, what are you guys seeing now? Are you seeing the share site?
No.
What are you seeing right now, Mike?
We
Just
see the speaker. We see the speaker.
speaker mute.
Okay.
Not that we're complaining. It's just not a complaint. It's an observation.
All right, let's see if we can do this again and get it to share. There we go. I may have skipped on the wrong one.
There we go.
Is that better?
Mhm.
Good deal. So this is a share site from Shutterfly. These are all free, so you can put as many photos up here as you want. They'll store them at high resolution, which means that you can share them with your family or friends at the same resolution that you shot them. So if it's a 12 megapixel camera like you got on your iPhone, or a 24 megapixel camera that you got in your DSLR, it'll store them at that resolution. And if you look here, it says 133 albums. So I've got 133 different albums just on this one share site that I'm able to share back with my family and friends, or whoever else I might want to see it. You can set these things up for whatever you might want. You know, a sports team. I've got one that I keep for a local soccer team here. This one is all about news and sports. So if you get in and play with this, you can do a bunch of really cool things with it. And then one of the things that I also find to be, pretty important to myself as well as others is who gets in and out. So when you look at the members over here, I can add or I can subtract members from this as I want, because we don't necessarily want everybody in the world coming in and looking at the photos that we've got. But in this particular case, it's pretty easy just to click on that gallery and then pull up whatever images that you got in that, and be able to either share them, download them, or even order prints from them. Fairly simple. All right, I'm gonna go back over to where I was. If I can get it to share again. It's a lot of moving around. So this is what I was talking about just a second ago with the share sites. So, there are several different companies that do these kinds of does some of this, but one of the biggest piece of all of these is that you have controlled access into your photos and unlimited photo storage. So that's a couple of big things. With Shutterfly, it's free with a lot of these companies to store this many photos in high definition or high resolution. There's a monthly cost or an annual fee that they'll ask for. A couple of coupons that I was able to dig up for you guys. You can screenshot these. These are from Shutterfly. You can get a free calendar if you're not a Shutterfly customer right now. If you create a membership, which is free, they'll give you a free calendar. And then App Welcome is strictly off their app for their phones, and it gives you an easel back canvas that's about, I think it's 9x9 or something like that. And then you can also get a free 8x8 inch photo book. You have to pay for the shipping charges on that, but the book itself is at no cost. So as I say, nothing ages better than a photo from today. And it's really easy to start into this stuff. It's very inexpensive to do it. And I'll tell you, every time I do a book, and my daughter's at college now, if something comes in while she's away, that's the first thing she does. When she has kids come over and spend the night with us or visit with us, she always goes and digs out those books and shows them to her friends, and look back when we did this. And of course, she might be 8 or 9 years old or something like that, but it's just great to see her recalling her younger years, even though she's only at the ripe old age of 20. All right, so if you have any questions on that, I'll be happy to answer. If you want to drop them into the chat box, that's good. Or if anybody just wants to speak up and ask a question, I'll be happy to take it.
We do have one, Jim, from Christina. Jim, have you also used services to place photo memories on mugs, totes, or other products? Do you have any favorites?
Yes, I have. So back when Grandma was, still Grandma, we made a pretty good habit of making mugs and bags and photo frames and things like that, primarily wall art kind of things. And I've always used Shutterfly. I just got started with them 20 years ago, and I've kind of been a slave to them, I guess, over the 20 years. I've tried some others that I haven't been quite as pleased with, just personally. But I will tell you, from the canvas perspective, I really like those two companies that I mentioned. I think they do quality work at really inexpensive prices. So if you go out and look for coupons for either one of those guys, you'll see some great values on those. But thanks for that.
Excellent. Well, cool. Thank you, Jim. And I am going to turn it over to Barbara to talk about some specials that have come up, some places that you can go and use all these new photography techniques that you've learned.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Jen and Jim. I learned so much. I have a list going here and a couple of other things I just wanted to share. Jen, as you were going through the techniques and the different views, in 2019, the last time we actually had a real vacation, my husband and I did a Mediterranean cruise. And there were so many excursions you could do. And we were concerned that we were going to not pick the right one and we'll miss something. And there were professional photographers on the ship who went to different places and then did a collage or a zip drive of all the photos and all the techniques you went through, Jen, I saw in those photos. Plus, it's a good way to capture everything when you can't do all the excursions.
That's great. I'll tell you this real quick. I have a very, very good friend of mine that started off being a cruise ship photographer, and he now does incredible animal photography for National Geographic.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, Jim, the other thing that I wanted to share, because you just said about the photo months, when we went on a multi-gen family trip, it was a cruise, Disney cruise for my in-laws' 60th anniversary. We went back through their old wedding album and found pictures and just a photo, we took a picture of a picture and sent it to whoever made the mug. I don't know, it might have been Shutterfly, and it was exquisite. So that was like the little handout. And then the other thing we did is you can get a glass, like the picture put into glass. So we had that etched, for their 60th anniversary memory. Plus we got the photo book.
So you think about how we look at images today, photos that we have today of our parents and our grandparents, and they're back, in my case, you're back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and how we treasure those moments. And even though today, if you take a picture, especially if you take a picture of a young person, they're like, yeah, whatever, right, move on. Boy, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, what's the value of that photo? Yeah. I would argue nothing gains in value more than a great family photo that's shot. So that's why I use my.
Yeah, and the old stuff, you mentioned VCRs, and Michael, you don't remember that? Well, we actually went through the circular slides and picked some pictures. Trying to do it on the wall because we didn't have it. Anyway, I'm having just way too much fun with this. So we got so much inspiration from Jim and Jen, and we just wanted to share through cruise planners, your land and cruise experts. So we are very much land. There's some special offers on family travel right now, focused on family beach vacations. Multi-generational vacations is a lot of what I do with my family, where we celebrate somebody's anniversary or somebody's birthday, and 25 of us get together, and it works out really well at the all-inclusives because everybody can do their own thing. So beaches, which is family oriented, and sandals, which is couples oriented, are having a fantastic deal. I just got to look at my notes. It is 65% off plus a free night, plus extras that you might want to choose, like a Little Tykes special for, Sesame Street tuck-in for the Tykes, a free candlelight dinner or couples massage, for the couples. So, really fantastic deals out there. And what is in this time of COVID is a comfort is they're doing the health protocols and they are providing the testing to the travelers to return to the US as long as the CDC rules are in place. And if in fact you or a member of your party have COVID, you can stay cost-free and they provide the insurance. It's so they're, if you want to plan something for the future when you're comfortable traveling, they have great deals. Call of the Wild National Parks, staying local, not having to deal with the testing. If you're going to go, into an international destination, there is so much here right in our own backyard. National parks. Tailor-made Utah is one of the things that I actually have on my list for October when we can travel. There's a brand new train journey, 2-day train journey, Rockies to the Red Rocks, that we did actually a whole webinar on previously, which, we were sold. It's by Rocky Mountaineer, which you might recognize from the Canadian Rockies, but they also do now for the first time, starting in August, a Colorado, Utah, Nevada itinerary. So very excited for that. And Jim, if you want to just jump to the next slide. A lot of these offers are available on our websites. If you go to, the Cruise Planner website for your cruise advisor and travel advisor. And then we have a travel planner magazine coming out. It's digital, so you can browse through it, at your leisure on your iPad, your phone, your PC. That'll be coming out February 15th. It's going to be a ton of travel information, and you can, without buying anything, register win a free river cruise for 2 from Amel Waterways. Plus, if you do book anything, there's all kinds of gifts that you get for booking from something in the Travel Planner magazine. And Machu Picchu here on the cover, that's another bucket list destination for me. I'm sure you all have your own bucket list destinations. But I think, Jen, this picture might actually address the rule of 3, the thirds, because it looked like it was like, we got the sky, we got the mountains, and then we have the, can it be vertical or does it have to be horizontal? And then we have the Machu Picchu. Yeah, look at that.
I think it can be horizontal too.
Yeah, yeah. And then Cruise Planners does offer regular Where to Next events. And we just found out today that the next event is America the Beautiful, Iconic Cities and National Treasures. And that's coming up on February 23rd. So, and it's offered at 2 times, 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern time, to allow our friends on the West Coast to participate without interrupting their workday. And, just some more inspiration here. New York City, we saw pictures that Jen had there. Hawaii, we have, I think that's Glacier National Park in the middle, national parks. So just a lot to inspire you to do your photos and practice and plan ahead. I'm also digging out old photos now, just kind of looking back at where we were and seeing where we can go next too, what we want to do next. So that's all I had to share. Is there anything, Jim, Mike, you want to also add?
Yeah, we'll open it up for questions. If anybody wants to unmute themselves. One of the things that I will mention while we're waiting, if people want to type some questions in or while you're thinking about it, I use Groupon a lot. We travel a lot, and we one of the things that I've tried to get the kids into lately is, our kids are teenagers now, but we almost do like a little photography contest when we travel. At the end of the trip, we'll sit down and go through our pictures, and we'll kind of do a little contest and see who got the most quintessential Paris picture or London picture or wherever we went. And then I use Groupon a lot to get, anywhere between, this is like a, 24 by 18 picture. This is of Glacier Park right here. One of the things I did notice though, and that I would definitely watch out for, is when you're getting some of these, watch out. I really like the way that it wraps around the edge. I think that picture looks better. But if you're not paying attention, and you need to pay attention when you're ordering, like this is actually a cherry tree, on Lake Ann, which is on the path right between my house and Jennifer's house, which is beautiful in the spring. But I didn't realize, I didn't pay attention when I was ordering, and it came like this. I would have preferred to have that wrap all the way around the side. So that's one thing to pay attention to when you're ordering these canvases. But I get, every time we go on a trip, right behind this wall behind me is a 3-story open staircase all the way up. We live in a 3-story townhouse, and I've made it my goal now. I'm going to fill the walls in this staircase with travel pictures. And we take, every time we come home from a trip, we pick some cool ones, and we go on Groupon, and we get them made on by a canvas, and of varying sizes. And I'm filling up that thing. I think it's just a really fun thing for our house. But that's one thing I wanted to point out. I was thinking out with Jim when you were talking earlier. I'm like, I really like the way it wraps around the edge, but watch out for that when you're ordering.
One thing I was going to tell you guys is a great place to get big prints and canvases, and you have to wait for them sometimes, is Costco, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Costco has some great, they do a great job in printing. But I will say this, for landscape prints, I love spending a little extra and ordering metal prints.
Oh yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah, metal prints look amazing. And there's some other places that you can get Mixed Tiles is a great place where you can get like 10 different things, and then you can put up a little like our vacation, and you can switch them out. That's a great way to do it. And I also have a lot of my pictures that stream to my television now. If you've got it's really easy to do now from your computer. You put a little stick in, and I'll say this one final thing. You can also get, and I can, if anybody's interested in this, I can send them a link. From Amazon, I bought this great photo frame for my mom for Christmas that I can automatically text her photos, and it goes straight to the photo frame. It's a digital photo frame. And that's pretty awesome. Like when you're on vacation and maybe your parents for some reason can't be there, it's great for them to see the grandkids. Like literally it comes and she will sit and look at that every day.
I didn't think about that, Jennifer, because when you're traveling, you can upload those and update that frame constantly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great idea. I didn't think through that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
For our aunt in Florida. She's
and can I ask a quick travel question?
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything available yet about the new national park in West Virginia?
I'm not aware.
Not that I'm aware of. I will find out for you though.
Yeah, there's the brand new national park. They just opened, and I'm curious. I hear it's incredible, and I'm curious to know if there's going to be anything offered in and around it, because it'd be a great.
Like our guest bringing us something that causes us to go work. Thanks a lot.
No, sorry. I mean, it's like your planners or something.
Driving distance for us, Jen. We'll have to go.
I know. I'm gonna y'all let me know. My birthday's next week, so I need to find a quick trip. Michael needs to find me a quick deal. Yeah.
I got this great park in West Virginia that I think you should. Jen and Jim, I have a question, and I just got. I justified the business to justify buying the new iPhone 12 Pro Max, but the files on there, when they download, they're freaking huge, and it's a different file type. So when you're downloading them to save and to share, they're not as easy to just download as a JPEG and share. And it's big. It's a huge file transmission. To put it anywhere.
Is it HCIM?
Yes.
Yes. So those files are actually videos. Yeah. So when you're photographing it, make sure you don't have it on live, that you have it on JPEG.
Okay. So
when you do it on live, it's actually shooting a little bit of video. Right. And then it's taking one of the frames in the video as your best frame, or you can go in and you can. Do you have a Mac?
Yeah, Yeah.
You can send it straight to the Mac and pull it up in Photoshop and convert it to JPEG, but that takes much longer.
So what you're saying is it's operator error then.
That's
No,
what we're
what I'm
saying.
saying is that it's just one of the things of the iPhone. So I'll tell you another software, and Michael knows that I love this, that's great for storing your photos on, and that's SmugMug. And I have about 15 years of SmugMug photos on there.
Mhm.
And you can
Yeah.
print directly from there and make albums and those things too. But what I love about them is they store high-res files and videos.
Yeah, they're a great supplier.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Jen, for Jim, for Barbara? Again, thank you very much, Jennifer, for being here tonight. I really appreciate you being here.
Great. I
We
had a
will.
great time.
Jim, are you able to put that slide up one more time with Jennifer while we're closing up? If you could put that slide up with Jennifer's contact information, or we will.
I bet I can.
All right. And then, again, if you have any questions after this, please contact your local cruise planner. You want to get a hold of Jennifer. Jennifer does have some classes on, more in-depth classes on travel photography, both with, an SLR camera or digital SLR and with iPhone photography as well. So if you
Yeah,
are
and
interested in
we're
that,
teaching them, I'll teach them online. We teach them
Right.
online. So
Cool.
I give you assignments. It's a lot of fun. Carol, I'll get your email from Michael and send that to you about the digital
Okay.
photo frame.
Well, again, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being here. And if nobody else has any further questions, we'll call it a night.
Thank you guys. Had a great time.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.